You're watching TVC Breakfast. It's time to look at the headlines across Nigerian newspapers this morning. And to help me make sense of some of the headlines on the papers, I have with me Oladeinde Akinwale. Good morning. It's good to have you join me.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you.
All right. We also expect Abayomi Okeashiwaju to join us as we get along to help analyze some of the issues here. Now, let's begin with the first news. First news is focusing on insurgency. Nigeria goes for broke, buys 12 Tucano jets for 206 billion naira. It's the largest single arms purchase in sub-Saharan Africa, says the United States. And as American government promises to name Boko Haram sponsors in Nigeria. All right, that's the first news. Let's go to Blueprint newspaper. It says it's focusing on the banditry. Masari Oke's containment order bans interstate cattle sale. That's Blueprint. Masari, the governor of Katsina State. Daily Times is next, and it says, will apply a basic law on Nigerians rejecting COVID-19 vaccine. The federal government is saying this. Says a COVID-19 vaccination now mandatory for all pilgrims to Saudi Arabia and Israel. All pilgrims to Saudi Arabia and Israel is mandatory now to get the COVID-19 vaccination. Okay, we'll certainly talk about this vaccination thing. This Nigeria is next. COVID-19 vaccine directive. Court stops Obaseki from enforcing order as federal government warns pilgrims to get fully vaccinated before traveling to Jerusalem and Saudi Arabia. All right, this is this Nigeria. The Guardian newspaper is next, and it says federal government set to sanction Nigerians refusing COVID-19 vaccination. Court restrains Obaseki from making vaccination compulsory. Those civil servants get 7-day ultimatum to get inoculated. And new C12 COVID-19 variant not spreading, says WHO. All right, we'll certainly look at this. Then let's get to Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper says compulsory vaccination, NMA Johesu cake as federal government threatens sanction. You can't force people, enlighten them. NMA health workers are advising the federal government here. Court stops Edo, people who reject vaccine endangering others. Rules will be applied, says the National Primary Healthcare Development Authority boss. Okay, we'll certainly talk about this. That's the Punch newspaper. Nigerian Tribune is next. Excuse me. Compulsory COVID-19 vaccination. Court stops Obaseki. Federal government considering basic rule of law on Nigerians refusing vaccination. 2.9 million vaccinated. Third wave stabilizing in Africa. WHO is releasing this. Okay, that's the Nigerian Tribune. All right, Vanguard newspaper is next. Nigeria hard hit as 2,035 die of cholera in 23 states and the FCT. Really troubling, I must say. That's the Vanguard newspaper. The Leadership is next. No going back on open grazing ban, Southern governors declare. No going back on open grazing ban, Southern governors declare. That is the Leadership newspaper. Daily Trust is our next paper. Anti-open grazing. Imo opts out as Lagos, Ogun, Edo, Anambra delay the law. Okay, September 1st was meant to be the target point, but some of the states are now meeting up. Anti-open grazing. Imo opts out as Lagos, Ogun, Edo, Anambra delay law. That's the Daily Trust. Daily Sun is next. And it says the Southern Governor's collective decision, 11 Southern states failed to meet September 1 open grazing ban deadline. And 5 states ignore agreement, 6 in process of ban, and Akeredolu signs bill into law. That's Daily Sun. From there, let's go to Nigerian News Direct. 33% unemployment rate. Buhari UNDP launched job fellowship for 20,000 graduates. Buhari UNDP launched job fellowship for 20,000 graduates. That's Nigeria News Direct. From there, let's go to Business Day. Lagos dares FIRS, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, insists on collecting value-added tax. Okay, that's business day. National economy. AFDB rallies support for pharmaceutical manufacturing in Nigeria. Others with $3 billion. National economy. All right. AFDB rallies support for pharmaceutical manufacturing in Nigeria. Others with $3 billion. All right. The Nation newspaper is next now, and it says Buhari policy consistency puts economy on rebound. Non-oil sectors on the rise. 20,000 jobs for graduates program inaugurated as a fellowship program for 20,000 graduates. All right, gentlemen. All right, I'm having, joining me, I'm retaining Jide Ologun here to help us make sense of this as well. Thank you for coming and thank you for staying back.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay. There's this issue of, I'll come to you, Jide, to look at the legal aspect of it. Well, Need, let me start with you. There's this issue about the vaccines where we hear, if I started from Edo State when the governor was saying that if you're not vaccinated, you cannot access some things, making it compulsory in the state. And there was a backlash to that where there was protest and demonstration saying that it is our right to take the vaccine or not to take the vaccine. Rather, you should enlighten the people, create more awareness in the language they understand so that people can come out to vaccinate based on their conviction. We see the federal government mulling the idea of sanctioning people who don't take the vaccine. What do you make of this, Nee?
Good morning once again.
Good morning.
For those of us that grew up in the village, we have the luxury of relating with our grandparents with a whole lot of proverbs.
A lot of us that grew up in the village. I like that.
My grandfather would say that if a leaf stays long on a soap, gradually this leaf will continue to do the job of the soap. It will continue to lather and foam. And what I've seen so far is that it's as if everybody around using the appellation or the caption the Punch normally used to address the president, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, has now turned to everything to decree, to rule by force. And it's so unfortunate that the way we have now is to use the power only on the weak. The responsibility of government globally is safety of life and property. I am ashamed as a Nigerian to discover that our country, we go hand in cap to go and import COVAX, to go and import Moderna, to go and import J&J, and yet we have Ministry of Science and Innovation that are collecting money for researches. We have labs here and there. We have professor of genomics here and there. And it's a country that cannot vouch for 20 million doses of COVID vaccine and is forcing 200 million population to must take it. Are we not jokers? I am ashamed as a Nigerian that the governor of Edo State, who was democratically elected by about 300 or 400,000 voters, with the hope that there will be better life for them, is not championing the cause of how to make the life better for the man on the streets. I am aside that, just like one of my friends, Oladeinde, said that the federal government did not compel everybody to ensure that you get COVID relief fund. But this same federal government has the effrontery, the Edo State government has the audacity to ask people to take COVID vaccine. You see clearly that government has failed its responsibility in terms of information dissemination and convincing people on it to ensure that we reduce the mortality rate and we ensure that we reduce the spread of this virus. Then again, there is another school of thought that says even as that you have the COVID vaccine, you still need to mask up because you can be asymptomatic carrier of the disease. Our government has not come out to enlighten people to how is the better life. You see electricity bill has increased, the VAT is coming, they are reviewing, NEC is reviewing, you cannot go on the road. Everything is becoming hard for a common man. You can't even travel between Lagos and Ibadan without looking left and right. Our government is not giving much in order to ensure that our lives are safe. We are able to eat 3 square meals, even 2 meals a day. And the same comical, or how do I put them now, is insisting that people must. Our government has refused to fade out cholera in 2021. Is now asking people to chase out COVID of 2019. Our government where you see how people still battling with polio. Our government where you have IDPs, where people cannot live, where people are being displaced at the border of this country every day, has not guarantees their security, has now come to tell us that they don't even have up to 10 million vaccine and asking 20 million people to go to do that. You could not say another joke. Our government is saying for you to travel to Israel, you must remain safe. For you to travel to Saudi Arabia, your security is important. But for you to remain even in your country, it is not safe. So you can see that we have misplaced priority, and everybody is now ruling by decree or by force. So for many governments to come out at this time in time in Nigeria with what people are going through daily, to be compelling them to take COVID, when you cannot guarantee their security, you cannot provide welfare for them, you're asking them to go and queue. Nothing we have gotten right in this country. To do the vaccine, you go to website. To do it, you do this, you do that. That is way done in developed countries.
All right. Your perspective, we noted. Jide, let me come to you on this. From the eyes of rule or the eyes of the law, when the issues of vaccination has to do with a personal thing, but when there's a compulsion by government, at what instance, because the arguments are back and forth as to whether government has a right to say you must have to take this vaccination or not. I wonder at what point can government say it is compulsory or it is mandatory for every citizen to take the vaccine?
Constitutionally, we all have a fundamental human right, and I have a right to my thoughts and what I subscribe myself to. And we've had a case study on this in Nigeria when the country was managing polio. In some parts of the country, it was resisted. And I know some prominent Nigerians, like an emir, had to go to the people that come. This has nothing to do with your religion or culture. This is a health matter. And they had a buy-in into them. And I think that is the aspect that is being emphasized this morning. You don't force things on people, and that is on one side. We have our right whether to take it or not. And even when you make the laws, how do you implement it? If you say you must have it, where do I get it? On my way to the studio this morning, very early, I saw Nigerians at the gate of the Nigerian Identity Management Office in Alausa in Ikeja. And that is a recurring experience on a daily basis. Who should have their national identity number? How do you have it? Like he said, somebody phoned in from a country that they even pay them to have this vaccine. So people are inspired to go for it. So, and thank God for the judiciary that has now come to tell the governor that, hey, governor, you cannot force people to go for vaccine. And he now needs to put up a team together to embark on consultations. The preachers are there, the traditional leaders are there. How do you communicate? Communication is a very sensitive matter, because in communication, in public relations, you talk about the message you have, you encode that message, drive it through a channel, based on the target audience you have. And except you have feedback, your communication is not complete. Yeah. So the feedback we are having here is that, no. This is not how to reach out to the people. So we have not created the impression that we care for the people. We cannot open a can of worm here. If you do a forensic analysis of what has been going on in COVID-19 management, you will weep. And these are issues. Can you be trusted? And things like that. Is it business for some people? And you look at the other elements. He mentioned the issue of cholera and everything. Look at it. We have spent about almost $500 million to acquire 6 Tucano jets. And we are saying it's insurgency and industry. And we now have a 33% of unemployment in the country. So how can we attend to the crisis in society to make it, an accommodating society within which government can come out, talk to the people, and the people will willingly follow them? It's not the same in South Korea. It's not the same even in China. And so we need to find a way of carrying people along. And now that the court has stopped the governor should probably learn from this to engage, to consult.
Sorry, I don't know whether I can add this as well. Yeah. I can't remember the name of the company now, but I remember in the early 90s or thereabouts, there was a vaccination, whether it's for teething drug, that happened in other parts of the country, and most of the stuff that were, I think it was Zamfara, about the polio, whatever that happened, and they started giving them a particular brand of drug, and it was having adverse effects on people. This government came out for the first time we want to have this vaccine to say they are not liable for anything that happens to anybody on this drug. The Minister of Health came out on TV to say this, and yet the information we have out there shows clearly that if this vaccine 66, 78, there is no that is 100%. So technically, the 21st century human being have turned to the proverbial guinea pig when we are using to do the test. So tomorrow you said this one is 66, this one is 67. Now, if this drug now start reacting, and your Minister of Health has come out to tell you on TV that guys, you are going to be liable for whatever happens to you after taking the vaccine. Yet somebody has the effrontery to tell the same people that had the same experience with these pharmaceutical companies in this part of the country to do this again. Who will pay for those damages? Like you mentioned. So this current, I don't know whether it's because we have Major General Buhari as the head. Everybody is now using the iron fist, just like Honorable Bismarck, to rule us. Everybody has turned themselves to Niccolo Machiavelli. And what they do now is that they force it down your throat. This is democracy. This is not, we are not in Russia, we are not in North Korea. This is Nigeria, 21st century cholera-driven country. You see people die every day for cholera. Lassa is still there. And yet you are forcing people what you are traditionally supposed to make easy for them. Even to do normal immunization, you know how difficult it is in a primary health case. And it is now COVID that is up to 10 million vaccines. Now you are chasing over 20 million or 200 million people to go and take. I think the handlers of our government are doing worse job at it when it comes to how they represent this government out there. They are doing a lot, but the way they push it out there on us is as if we don't have choice. But in this country, we do have choice. It is democracy.
Well, NAFDAC, from the reports we got, NAFDAC has checked and okayed the vaccines to be taken in Nigeria. So we have confidence in that.
We don't know. We do not have confidence. Don't let us say we have confidence.
We are meant to have confidence.
Why should say I have confidence? Okay, you may not speak for Nigeria.
All right. That is just rubber stamping what has been done in other countries.
Okay.
So don't tell us we have confidence,
all right.
please.
We assume that when they do. All right. We have the lawyer. We have the lawyer
that has gone through Nigerian regulatory process.
We assume that
we have confidence.
We assume that when NAFDAC comes out, or when NAFDAC came out to say that this drugs that are coming in, the vaccines that are coming in are safe and are okay, we assume.
And we also assume that it's 66% potent in some people could have adverse effects, but we can still use it on us when we are not guinea pigs.
That explanation was given on the ground where people have underlying health challenges here and there, so and they could react.
They can be guinea pig, they can react, they can have blood clots. We also assume that.
Maybe not a guinea pig issue.
It's a guinea pig because we are testing on human body, not on animal body.
All right, now, Jide, the issue of the hesitancy, the vaccine hesitancy. Of course, the information is out there. Let us not put it on the count. It's not flat. The information available in Lagos may not be the kind of information or the same quantum of it or the quality of it in a place like maybe any other state.
Even my village.
In my village, for instance. But the point there is, let us even take Lagos as a case study. There is still the issue of the hesitancy even within Lagos. Would you say that information overload is setting in, or the information fatigue, as some people will call it, is setting in, where people have had the information so much that it is of no effect anymore?
I think the key word here is patriotism.
Okay.
Have we been
from the people, or from
exactly? And patriotism simply means the people trusting the government and willing to cooperate with the government. I use the case of, if you look at how some countries manage COVID-19, the citizens cooperated with the instructions given out. I was in an hospital yesterday and I was shocked that in the lobby, almost everyone in that lobby, up to about 35 souls, were not having their, so I and my cousin that had our nose and mouth mask on, we were like strangers. And that is what we're talking about. So we should be able to follow through on instructions and directives. And it's a classification of image and reputation. So if the government is trying to present an image of, oh, we care for you, come for this, has the reputation been there? How did we manage the palliatives? How have we paid attention to the economy? How have we ensured that life is easy for people as we manage these COVID-19 challenges? So those are the various issues. So we want an engagement that will be how best can we attend to the needs of the people? And I think that has already been simplified by the primary purpose of government in section 14, subsection 2 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, that says the security and the welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. Right. Care for the people, they will give you the full support.
Right. Let me quickly close on with this.
In 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds. If you look at all the O&Bs we've been having with the government agencies, government personnel, you see that it's full to the brim without nose mask. If you look at the recent national showing of jets in Kano, you will discover that when people are jumping to Naira Marley, majority of them are not putting on nose mask. So there is no way you can make a rule for thousands of people and doesn't affect you who are the rulers. Okay. So until we begin to start from those in the corridor of power, obeying the law to the letter, having citizens to obey same law will be a
all right. So it should be for everybody.
Everybody.
All right. Obani Akinwale, thank you so much for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
Thank you. And Jide Ologun, thank you very much for staying back to do justice to this.
Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
And God bless Nigeria, as you always say. All right.